God, my God, my God, my God, my God. It's time. It's time. It's time. It's time.
Good evening, City of Dreams. All eyes are on the Pentacony repechage, which is now in its 4th round. Waves of remaining competitors are still vying for their shot at victory. Leaving aside Duke Inferno's fiery demise, the family would like to reassure everyone that no contestants have come to harm. That's still the case, right? With the crisis dispelled, only flowers, glory, and rapturous applause await. Not to mention a pool party. Miss Acheron, didn't we all agree to the swimsuit dress code? That's not a swimsuit.
Is that what we agreed?
But you...
Albert, can I borrow you?
Madam Jade. So, what brings you here?
The corporation is planning to increase the special program budget. Here.
Where
it's
is
all in
Jade's
the
swimsuit?
agreement.
Thank you, Miss Jade. And thank you, RPC. Where do I sign?
Pleasure.
His
doing
eyes.
business.
Miss Firefly. Hey,
Aww.
can you do the transformation thingy? You know what I'm talking about.
transformation thingy?
Now's the perfect time.
Okay, it's just there's a lot of people around.
No problem.
She nervous.
If anything goes wrong, just blame your good buddy Albert.
In that case, check out the newest upgrade. I shall set the seas ablaze.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
To me, hiding is much easier than being honest. Yet, I still want to try expressing my emotions as any ordinary person would.
Forgotten someone, my gray-haired friend? I put a bomb on this ship. You have 10 minutes to find it. Better hurry.
What is going? Why?
Initiate cleanup. Move forward, ignite. I shall set the seas ablaze.
Always remember, don't leave with any regrets.
So now,
Oh my God.
do you understand what you must give up, Miss Sam? Even from here.
What is she whipping us? I mean, not us, but is she whipping them? Is she Wait,
I'm more
no
than capable of
way.
keeping you on a tight leash. There's no backing out now. For me, or for you.
My script isn't over yet.
It's been a while, little Yelena.
I propose a toast. Since you care so much, speed up the countdown to the future of Pentacony and the universe.
Can I interpret this as the next phase of the simulated universe?
Correction. It's a new subject matter
Screwla?
that Dr. Ratio and I have personally agreed on.
Oh my God. Oh my God, what is happening? Why, what? I need to watch that trailer again because there was so much happening. And because my brain stopped working when I saw Jade whip us. I don't know why I keep saying us because she wasn't whipping us, she was whipping them. But I was imagining something. It was a communal whipping, right? Wait, was Jade playing with Topaz's hair? Are you serious? I have to rewatch it again! Oh my God. She called her by her name? I heard some name, but I I didn't know if she was talking to Topaz or not.
Ooh, and whether or not your world has a day-night cycle. Good morning, good afternoon.
Look at all the girlies here.
I'm Albert, your friendliest feathered announcer. Welcome to the version 2.3 Farewell Pentacony special program. For today's program, we have with us a Galaxy Ranger as well as a Stellaron Hunter. Not to mention a director of the IPC Strategic Investment Department, Madam Jade.
That's me. Thank you for the invite. It's a pleasure to be here for the version 2.3 special program.
You can call me Acheron. So,
I don't
what
know.
exactly is this
Maybe
newest
I'm pulling.
upgrade you were all
Maybe
talking
I'm definitely
about?
pulling for Jade and Firefly.
I just showed everyone. Hi, Trailblazers. Firefly here.
Welcome, welcome. Now, before we go any further, we agreed to a pool party. How come I'm the
Love
only
how it's a
one
patch
that
for
showed up
girlies.
in a swimsuit?
We thought you were joking. After all, this show never previously had pool party levels of funding.
Don't worry, Albert. Madam Jade's investment is on the way. Next time for sure.
Anyway, take a look around, you guys. We're coming to you live from the skies above Pentacony in none other than the Radiant Feldspar airship.
Quite a luxurious setting. What's the occasion?
Oh, no occasion needed, Miss Acheron. I just wanted to give everyone a taste of Pentacony's history. Over to you, Madam Jade.
One amber era ago, Odie Alfalfa, the Pentacony Alfalfa family head, invested a large sum in constructing the Radiant Feldspar airship. Aside from the opulent parlor, ballroom, and recreation facilities, one could simply relax at the poolside with a few glasses of Soul Glad. This grand airship has sailed above Pentacony's Sea of Dreams for an entire Amber era, suspending services only recently in the wake of the crisis.
I
The
really love
Trailblazers
her
have
voice.
Yet to claim
Oh
responsibility.
my god,
for this
it's
matter.
so.
In case you weren't aware, the Radiant Feldspar never opens to the public. Only the family's most esteemed guests are invited to take in such breathtaking aerial views of Pentacony.
You mean to say that after 3 whole versions, the Trailblazers might finally be able to take a vacation?
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. The Trailblazers'
Right.
recent battle against the Order caused great disturbance in Pentacony.
Yes, it's Famata.
Correct. The Charmony Festival was forced to terminate. One can well imagine the damage to public opinion. The family's reputation must be built anew, and the public must be reassured. There are many delicate issues which urgently need addressing.
Aside from the Oak family, the major lineages are preparing their responses to help deal with the aftermath. In the version 2.3 Trailblaze mission, the Express crew will be invited aboard the Radiant Feldspar as witnesses to important family discussions.
But if the factors that disrupted the dreamscape have been resolved, what other assistance is required?
The Order stepped all over the Harmony surf. You can't deal with stuff like that out in the open. The family came up with an idea. Fix the Radiant Feldspar as the Charmony Festival's location while simultaneously announcing the reopening of the airship.
A pity none of this razzle-dazzle can fool the IPC. During the Grand Theater final battle, Aventurine may have been digging up dirt on the family in Dreamflux Reef. I'll need to take care of a few things during my visit to Pentacony.
Huh? Is the IPC about to make a claim on Pentacony?
Never say never with the gosh dang IPC. All for the Amber Lord, baby.
Reading between the lines, it seems like these discussions concern the future of Pentacony.
They do. But a quick refresher. Anyone remember a certain masked fool issuing mutually assured destruction buttons to the residents of Pentacony?
Mm-hmm.
I remember. Sparkle sent out gifts in each one of the past 3 versions. Surely she...
Would pushing the button really cause Pentacony to explode?
I have my doubts. Only one way to find out.
Whoa! Everyone take a deep breath.
She's like, let's
okay?
try it.
You guys have been spending too much time with a certain blonde-haired director. I'm not putting the bill if you blow up the Radiant Veil Spa. Let's leave these mysteries for the Trailblazers to explore again. Huh? It's time we got back to the Charming Festival, baby. Who might the honored guest be, I hear you ask?
Just when they're about to get interesting, Albert hands things over to the Trailblazers again.
Family business is family
Yeah,
business.
Sparkle has
We've
been
got a
setting
show
up
to
the
do. Even
the
if the next
explosion
lady,
thing
you
for
know
a
what you
while
got.
now. It's been like 2 patches where she's been handing out those buttons. Look at her, she's so cute. I was hoping that like we
Firefly
would
is
see
a
the
member of
transformation
Stellar
when we.
Hunters and hails from Glamour,
Man,
a
okay.
world that was
It's still cool,
destroyed
though.
long ago.
Glamoth. The same Glamoth from the Firmament Frontline Glamoth
So like
relic
when we
set?
play her, she's
I
already
remember the planar transformed, ornament and
I guess
description
like
had a
her
story about
skill and like her
Glamoth's
bursts,
Iron
like we
Cavalry
see
Regiment.
her inside or
Yes.
something.
Glamoth was once a rich and powerful empire with a vast territory. After the swarm invaded, everything was destroyed.
Resisting the swarm called for the creation of Glamoth's Iron Cavalry. They were genetically modified soldiers, weapons that existed only to wage war.
They piloted mechs to contain the swarm. I met many of those heroes.
Aw.
Bade farewell to many.
What stood out
Oh,
to me is that Sam's
Firefly in the
family was
worlds,
actually
and then Salmon Fates.
Firefly
Oh,
Type
okay.
4 Strategic Assault Mech, meaning that out there, between the distant celestial bodies, there could be other Sams.
Ooh, imagine that. Good
Really?
thinking, Madam Jade. Perhaps the answer to that question lies in Firefly's myriad Celestia and animated short.
Count me in.
So
I was wondering, is it really you talking when Sam says something?
So they
Firefly?
just said
I
that
actually
she's gonna get a
spent a
short
lot of
and
time practicing
a
my
Myriad
Sam
Celestia. Heck
lines.
yeah!
Let me guess.
Is that the first time that they've ever like they've announced it anywhere like that?
And Kafka put them together.
Huh? That sounds a little too professional for us.
Yeah, well, speaking of professional, I think it's time we took a look at what this young lady can do in her combat mech.
I'm a fire type character, following the path of destruction.
Oh, I mean like
When
in
using my
the
technique
actual
during
preview they
exploration,
announced it.
I summon my Sam armor.
Oh.
Sam can leap into the air. After landing, Sam attacks all enemies within a set range.
What?
The heroic entry.
After using technique to enter battle, for every wave of enemies, weaknesses can be inflicted on units without fire weakness, which lasts for a set number of turns.
In battle, Sam has 2 forms. In the initial form, using skill consumes HP, while simultaneously regenerating ultimate energy. The lower the HP, the less damage sustained.
Huh.
Are all Stellaron hunters this careless with their lives?
When using ultimate, Sam enters
I guess
the
they all
second
kind
battle
of are, aren't
form,
they?
the dazzling complete combustion state. In addition to more powerful basic attacks and skills, speed is also increased. When using enhanced
wait.
abilities, Sam's weakness break efficiency and weakness break damage
Oh, that's-
sustained by enemies both increase.
Aw.
Sam restores HP with each attack.
So, the complete combustion state allows us to get a glimpse of Firefly's
Oh, that's
view
cool.
from the mech.
Okay.
That's a determined gaze if I ever saw one. Enough to set the seas ablaze, I'll wager.
That's so awesome! I want to set the seas ablaze.
Thanks! The Complete combustion state's enhanced skill not only allows for increased toughness
Okay, I like
reduction,
it. I like
can
it.
also
Yeah, her little
inflict fire weakness
her
on
little
target
face is so
enemies.
cute. The little
flames
monitor
that
is
Sam
so
emits when
cute.
breaking the enemy's weakness are quite spectacular. And is that a countdown icon on the action bar?
That's right. When the countdown is up, Sam will exit the complete combustion state.
It seems like the effects of Firefly's abilities all relate to weakness break. I suppose it would make most sense for Firefly to team up with allies who have weakness break efficiency buffs, or even super break.
That's right.
Cool.
For example,
Okay, I'm
the
pulling.
Harmony
I'm pulling for
Trailblazer.
sure. I want her.
Oh.
What a wonderful coincidence! In version 2.2, the Trailblazer inherited the Watchmaker's legacy and embarked on the brand new Path of Harmony. The spirit of trailblazing, traversing unprecedented distances to go where none have gone before. But that's what it's all about, bringing the will of the Trailblaze to more and more people. And on that note, I've got some good news for y'all. After activating the Harmony Trailblazer following the version 2.3 update, Trailblazers can obtain a Shadow of Harmony through the When Harmony Rings Out event screen, thereby upgrading the Trailblazer's Eidolon level.
And if I haven't had time to experience Pentacony yet?
Don't worry. After locking the Path of Preservation, Trailblazers yet to complete the version 2.2 Trailblaze mission can activate the Path of Harmony early through the When Harmony Rings Out event screen.
Ooh.
I hope the will of the Trailblaze reaches everyone on this journey.
Well said. Now, without further ado, it's time we got to know a certain highly respected IPC director a little better. Enter Madam Jade.
I'm actually really nervous about this. Oh, she's whipping people. Oh my god. She's. What? Oh, that's actually so cool.
Jade is a director of the IPC's Strategic Investment Department and a member of the 10 Stone Hearts. She is as beautiful as she is elegant, and the upcoming Radiant Feldspar discussions are an opportunity for her to showcase her true skills.
I
In
really love
contrast with Topaz's
her.
negotiation abilities and Aventurine's daredevil spirit, I prefer to operate behind the scenes, using emergency measures to reap a full harvest.
I'm not. I
It
can't.
feels like making a
What?
deal with Jade is a risky proposition. If you ever let your guard down even a little bit, you'll never escape her trap, no matter how hard you struggle.
I think the term you're looking for is femme fatale.
Wait! That's literally how I described her.
Mm-hmm. And Jade also has a hobby by the name of Bana Jade Exchange.
That's so cool. I literally described her like that.
Though it kind of
When I first saw her drip, I was like, ooh, it's giving femme fatale.
with you on the menu.
One
I'm so
swish of
glad.
the contract and the customer is 8 billion credits out of pocket.
Watch your step, Trailblazers.
Jade's goal always aligns with her own interests. She plays the long game, whetting her customers' appetite while extracting a suitable price. She first draws her customers into a vortex of desire, then pounces where they're most valuable, leaving nothing but an empty shell of despair. Why is everyone staring at me?
Owlbert? Didn't you just
Secret
sign
Hoi
a
employee
deal with
watches
Jade
you.
over the special program budget?
I love it.
What? Hold on a second. Oh.
So, what exactly happens to people who sign agreements with Jade?
Patience, patience.
They get stepped on.
Why don't we let the combat do the talking? As a quantum-type character following the path of erudition, my basic attack deals blast damage to a single enemy and adjacent targets.
A blast
My
damage
God.
dealing basic
Oh my
attack?
god!
Exactly that. My skill, on the other hand, allows me to sign an agreement with a single ally, thereby granting them enhancement and speed boost buffs.
What?
When the signee attacks the enemy, they can deal additional damage, but at the expense of consuming their own HP.
Oh.
Enhancement in exchange for HP. Is that what people mean by bestowing poison in the guise of sweet dew?
Now, of course, if I choose myself as the signee, the speed boost and HP consumption effects do not apply. When I or a signee launch an attack, it accumulates charges for me. When charges are full, a follow-up attack is launched.
The IPCs sure enjoy a follow-up attack.
It seems that the Strategic Investment Department has its own modus operandi.
My ultimate, on the other hand, allows me to mete out punishment in accordance with the agreement. In addition to dealing damage to all enemies, my follow-up attack is enhanced.
If there's a place that's closest to a dream, then are the punished destined for the place that's furthest from it? Like an abyss?
You don't think those places might be one and the same?
Firefly
When
sounds
using
so
my
afraid.
technique during exploration, enemies within a set range enter the blind fealty state and will refrain from attacking me. After attacking an enemy inflicted with blind fealty, other enemies in the state will enter the battle, with all enemies sustaining damage.
Just a single sheet of paper. Signing away control of your life to others is all too easy.
Poor Owlbert. He might be
Just
doing
noticed
Jade
he's still
and the
dead.
IPC's bidding for a few decades more than anticipated.
Wakey wakey. I don't take kindly to procrastination during working hours.
How are you feeling, Albert? You won't be retiring anytime soon. But then, neither will your program.
Silver linings? Why do I still feel like I'm working for nothing?
I wouldn't trouble yourself with that question. Why don't we talk about the version 2.3 banner instead?
Ooh, great idea. And version 2.3's first half will prevent Trailblazers
Ron
can acquire
May.
the limited 5-star character Firefly, as well as the limited 5-star character Ron May.
I'm praying for
In
y'all.
addition,
I'm
the
praying
drop
for
rates
y'all.
for limited 5-star light
I know
codes
some
will
people
allow
really
you to
wanted Ron
invest,
May back, and there
as
she
well
is.
as the
She's
limited
back.
light code Pass Open Mirror will be boosted.
I feel pretty
She must yearn
pretty
for the
okay. I'm
warmth
still gonna be
beyond the
skipping
cold
Ron
confines of
May.
her surroundings.
Faint lights flickering in the midst.
Okay, I'm nervous. Please.
Meanwhile, in 2.3's second half will prevent, Trailblazers can acquire the limited 5-star character Jade and our resident Night of Beauty Argent will also be joining the lineup. In addition, the drop rates for the limited 5-star light cone, yes, hope is priceless, as well as the light cone, an instant before gaze, will be boosted.
So, even the fiercest of executives has a gentle side.
Who isn't moved by the laughter of children? My heart isn't actually made of stone.
And finally, the brand new 4-star light cone.
Oh my God.
Will also be joining the warp.
I wonder where Mr. Sunday is right now.
I think we all need a glass of Soul Land. But don't go anywhere, Trailblazers. After the break, we'll be talking 2.3 events.
Oh my God. All right. Okay. Whew. We're so back. I knew it. I had a feeling. I was like, I think he's gonna rerun soon, y'all. I think I need to stop. I think I need to stop pulling. I think I need to stop. Yeah, it's about to get real silly in here. Oh my god. This is I can't believe it. I can't believe this. Oh my god. I can't. I'm shaking. I'm literally shaking. I'm shaking. I can't believe this is happening. Oh my god.
Welcome back, dear viewers. Let's duck right into version 2.3's brand new events. First up, a significant update to the simulated universe.
So exciting! Did Mr. Screwlum and Dr. Ratio devise a new project?
You know what? Now
You
I'm like,
guessed
I'm
it.
not
Led by
thinking.
Mr. Screwlum, Divergent
Does
Universe,
Jade do
the
anything for
Apocalyptic
Argenti?
is a brand
Wait, no.
new project path.
She buffs,
Up
doesn't
until
she?
now, the aim
Does
of the
that do
simulated
anything? Like,
universe
is it
has been
good
to
for him?
research the stories of the eons. I'm assuming that the human comedy has more of a human
Babies
focus?
first
Bingo!
E6. Well, I
That's
guess
the main
E6
research
5-star.
of this phase of the simulated universe.
Looks like this project will be conducted on the radiant feldspar.
Minga number 2, let me tell you a little more about it. First up, a groundbreaking update to the Divergent universe, the arithmetic mapping function. In the Divergent universe, Trailblazers can switch between characters they already possess.
Huh. So they can create
They
their
showed her
own
along
maps?
Herda, so she probably can support him a little, but he doesn't
Precisely.
have any health
When testing
mechanics
the
that would
Divergent
benefit from the
universe,
other stuff.
Trailblazers will no longer be limited
more good
by
for follow-up
character
attack.
downloads. When character level is lower than the current equilibrium level cap, it
Well,
will
one team unit is still better
automatically
for him.
increase to meet the cap.
Meaning, if one of my characters is level 1, but I use them in the Divergent universe, it increases to a set level?
You got it.
So handy! But what if a character has the level, but no suitable relics or light cones?
You can't say some things, but
Or
Argenti and
not.
Jade are good for
In
each
that
other.
Situation, temporary light cones and relics at the current equilibrium level cap will be automatically assigned.
I like when things are automatic.
I like when things are automatic.
Now we mustn't overlook Dr. Ratio's new brainwave equation, a buff combination of 2 different paths. Before the start of every test, Trailblazers have the opportunity to select a random equation. And for the equation to take effect, you'll need different amounts of path blessings. Once the required amount has been achieved, the equation will activate, and the team can obtain the corresponding combat abilities. Equation has a max of 3 stars.
I see. So the higher an equation's star level, the more blessings are needed to activate it?
You nailed it! And to speed things up, the geniuses have kindly marked the required path blessings for
The
each
way I'm not
equation
even,
in
y'all,
Trailblazer's possession.
I'm not
Knowing which
thinking.
blessings can activate an equation is easy as pie.
That's so considerate. If you're
Best day
struggling to
ever.
choose, just follow the mark.
Adapting your choices to suit your equation allows you to cater the effects to your current team.
It works both ways. You could adjust your team's composition to better
They're
suit
beating
the
him
current
up!
equation.
Well,
Wanna
they're-
see
I don't know, I
Trailblazers
wanna watch
mixing and
this!
matching?
So if
Oh, thank
I
goodness, they didn't
accidentally
actually
chose
kill
an
him.
unsuitable blessing, or if I want to switch my current equation, can I make a change?
Of course. By visiting the workbench of creation, Trailblazers can overwrite their existing equation and switch it out for another. Unwanted blessings can also be switched out for other blessings, or even enhanced.
Huh? Has the curio store added more purchasable items?
Oh, am I hallucinating? Did Madame Herta really lower the prices?
The curio system has been upgraded. In addition to normal curios, Trailblazers can also choose from weighted curios. These curios are more suited to characters
Oh,
of
these are-
specific paths or
this is
types,
cool.
and really elevate the combat experience. Keep your eyes peeled, Trailblazers. Separately, we should also take a look at the wealth and escapade domains of the Divergent universe. Trailblazers can win different prizes in these domains by spending cosmic fragments. But beware, in the event of a program error, your cosmic fragments could be wasted, or even land you with
Forget all this.
negative curio.
I will too.
Sometimes the same starting
Ooh,
point can lead
how far
to
have I gotten
very
in
different
Simulated
outcomes.
Universe?
Luck
Not far.
is an
Slot
important
machine?
component.
It sure is. Now, allow me to introduce an impressive optimization that left a big impression on your buddy Albert. When suffering defeat in the simulated universe, Trailblazers no longer need to force stop the game. Divergent Universe Combat now allows for Restart Challenge, and Trailblazers can select a new lineup.
I've always wanted that function.
It's okay, you're about to plan another way to brain rot is real. Ray, I need to start
Trailblazers can
planning. I gotta
acquire
start planning
synchronicity
for
points and
that stream.
inspiration, allowing them to activate the buff nodes and inspiration circuits. Testing the simulated universe just got a little bit easier.
Thanks for all the info, Albert. It's just... Didn't you forget something important? What about the planar ornaments?
I thought you'd never ask. The planar ornament extraction function has arrived. Every time Trailblazers clear the Divergent Universe, they can choose to save a record of that challenge and archive the data of the equations,
cool.
blessings, and curios in question. Choose the planar ornament you want, use the archive, inherit the data and buffs from the archive, challenge the boss enemy, and obtain immersion rewards.
Yeah, I will be streaming Summer Game Fest later tonight.
You can skip ahead? You just need to defeat the
So
boss
we will
to
be
get
here
quick
again
access to the planar
for Summer Game
ornaments?
Fest.
Are we sure this isn't some cracked version of the simulated universe that Silverwolf put out there?
Shh, keep it down! The last person to doubt the Genius Society lost 76 accounts.
A brand new simulated universe. Sounds worth a try.
Amen to that. Now, in version 2.3, the Divergent Universe will be adding 2 new planar ornaments: Duran, Dynasty of Running Wolves, and Forge of the Kalpagni Lantern. Make sure to use the new planar ornament extraction function to get a hold of them.
After experiencing ordinary extrapolation, the Divergent Universe will have a weekly cyclical
Does that
extrapolation
okay?
objective.
I'm like
By
overthinking
completing
again.
this weekly challenge, Trailblazers can obtain a first-time completion reward, as well as additional synchronicity points.
Is Argenti gonna be
Not to mention,
in the
in
main
order to
story
celebrate
again?
the arrival of the Divergent Universe, Madam Herta has added the 5-star erudition light cone Eternal Calculus to the store. Trailblazers who wish to redeem it better start reserving some Herta bonds.
It sounds like the level of freedom in the Divergent Universe is really high. Faster access to planar ornaments, full choice of characters. Those are some big gameplay improvements.
Big improvements indeed. In the vastness of the universe, the eons are beyond our reach. Humanity must learn to rise from its falls and strike its own path.
When gazing up at the stars, it's important to keep your feet planted firmly on the ground. The stories in Divergent Universe, the human comedy, may seem small, but that does not make them
Imagine if his English voice is still bugged if he
Trailblazer.
reappears. Stop.
Get exploring.
I can't wait to experience those stories. It's a chance for us to find out more about ourselves.
I look forward to the memories.
Any room for a non-human companion?
Stop.
Aside from all of this, in Pentacony's Dreamscape sales store, a deal has been struck with a member of the mysterious Creed Exequy. They wish to seek traces of the shapeless prince in the experiences of your deadly struggles.
There he is
Unlock
again!
the brand new permanent challenge mode, Apocalyptic Shadow, in Dreamflux Reef, and experience those past dreamscapes.
Creed Exequy. Is this the first appearance of this faction of the finality?
Not necessarily.
A new permanent challenge mode? So what's different?
In Apocalyptic Shadow, Trailblazers will challenge boss enemies that they have encountered in their journey. Every phase
I feel
has
like-
2 enemies,
I
which
know-
are split into 4 levels of challenge difficulty. The enemies in
I'm just
Apocalyptic
really excited
Shadow
to see him so much in this
are regular
preview.
boss enemies. In preparation for the fight, Trailblazers can read the enemy's traits at the start of the battle.
As with other permanent game
He's so
modes, during
pretty.
the challenge, there are buff effects for Trailblazers to choose from for every boss. Make sure you maximize the advantages.
I feel like
of
we're
your
seeing him
lineup.
so much.
Defeating enemies through team adjustments, or by exploring different battle strategies, makes for a richer combat experience. Trailblazers can record a maximum of 3 floors of 3-star quick clearances.
That's right. And after the first time clearance of
Oh, we get a-
Apocalyptic Shadows set difficulty,
We get a free
Trailblazers
Shui.
can obtain the 4-star character Shui Yi,
Nice.
as well as 300 stellar jades and self-modeling resin.
As an apology for his bugler, it's really true. I heard
We're
this from
just getting
Dawe.
warmed up. Let's take a look at the permanent game mode rotating schedule.
I am. I'm going
The
to.
first phase of the
I'm going to
Apocalyptic
definitely be
Shadow
doing that.
Challenge will launch on the day of the version 2.3 update and last for 6 weeks. Every version will rotationally update according to the following sequence: Apocalyptic Shadow, Pure Fiction, Forgotten Hall. Just as
Aw,
before.
Pickle.
On every other
Pickle, are
Monday,
you
the
getting
permanent challenge
Eidolons
stage
for
is
Argenti?
replaced.
Related system functions have also been optimized.
Oh my god.
When entering the 3 permanent game mode screens from the Interastral Peace Handbook, aside from being able to see the challenge lineups of their friends, Trailblazers can also easily check the star level progress of their current challenge. On the permanent game mode preparation screen, Trailblazers can use preset lineups to create their team, and even customize with drag and drop. How thoughtful.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Now let's talk rewards, shall we? By clearing a phase of Apocalyptic Shadow, Trailblazers can earn a maximum of 720 stellar jades.
720.
Oh, need
You
to
might
save for the
want to take another
Foxian.
look at our
That's fair.
agreement, Albert.
Huh? The maximum number of stellar jades awarded in each phase of the Forgotten Hall, Pure Fiction, and Apocalyptic Shadow permanent challenges is increasing from 720 to 800. And the budgetary increase will be funded through Albert's salary? You.
It's like I said. Making
Nice.
a deal with Jade is a risky proposition.
Well then, following this change, Trailblazers
Soul of a
can
Dragon,
now
thank you for 21
obtain a
months. I
total of
appreciate that. Thank
2,400
you.
stellar jades through the permanent challenges. of each version.
Argenti's like cone is very
Then why
important for
do
him
I
though, so I'll
hear
most likely get that.
quiet weeping?
I don't think Owlbird's seeing the bright side.
Keep it together, Albert. Now, in the upcoming version, the origami birds also venture into the Radiant Feldspar. Bring with them a little game. Here's hoping Trailblazers can help to test it out.
An arcade game? Huh, let me give Silverwolf a call.
These origami birds are very endearing. But why do I have a sense of
She's so
déjà
cute.
vu?
Let me give Silverwolf a call.
This arcade game, Trailblazers need to cause elimination within a specified number of steps in order to increase the birds' combat
We're
power.
playing
Before the end of every turn,
Bejeweled?
corresponding damage is calculated according to the difference in combat values.
No, but
Your
I
opponent's HP returns to
listen.
zero,
I love
like
these
my bank
games.
account.
Okay,
Victory
so
is sealed.
This gameplay.
Could it really be?
The legendary.
I never thought the day would come when I could play match 3 on a Pentaconian airship.
In the origami
this
bird class of
gameplay.
things, Trailblazers can also do battle freely with friends from across the universe.
Really?
Can I bite Silverwolf?
Of course. Be they old buddies or gaming acquaintances, all can connect and play. Get tested.
Great!
The next event
Ooh.
is called Stellar Shimmer.
I should do that on
Does
stream.
that
That'd be
name ring any
fun.
bells for anyone?
Stellar Flare. Is this the sequel?
You're a sharp one, Miss Acheron. Stellar Shimmer brings with it lots of brand new challenge mechanisms and trial character lineups. Catering your team to suit the mechanisms is the key to victory.
These mechanisms. Care to divulge a little more?
Well, for example, in certain stages, breaking an enemy's weakness can grant you an extra action. In other stages, characters enjoy unlimited revivals and
Oh,
can
okay,
regenerate
so wait.
50% of their energy.
This is
Does
a.
that mean Trailblazers can try doing away with survivability units and focus purely on damage
Wait,
output
did we have we gotten this event before or?
Defeat as many waves of enemies as possible in a set number of cycles to complete the challenge and obtain rewards. Whew! That's it for events. Time to check it out the reader. Don't go anywhere. More fascinating.
Oh, I thought it was
updates on
over
version
already. I was gonna say
2.3
no.
are right around the corner.
Oh, it was a 1 point. Okay, I wasn't playing then, so maybe I'm like, maybe y'all were talking about it or something, and I saw it. I don't even know. I was gonna say because I wasn't playing in 1.0. For anyone that's wanting to redeem their codes later, we will have these in Discord as well later, if you're not able to redeem them right now. So... Oh my god, I have so many emotions right now. I can't believe that he's rerunning. I'm so excited. Oh, it's finally my time. It's finally my time. I hope that we can hear his voice. I also hope that he's actually in the main story again. That'd be great.
Welcome back, viewers. First up, it's the return of a nail-biting and thrilling tradition.
Gift
of Odyssey.
Check in for 10 free
Woohoo!
warps. The usual.
There's
Will you
also
finally
version
pull Argenti?
2.3's
I think
double
that
events.
you should. I
Our
think that
good
anyone that
friends
has
Planar
Boot Hill
Fisher
is
and
legally
Realm of the
obligated to pull for
Strange.
Argenti.
Double
In my
planar
opinion.
ornaments and materials? What's not to love?
I need his
Also
banner
in
to
this
do
version
extremely
are the
well.
Newly added cavern relics. Iron Cavalry against the Scourge and the wind-soaring Valorous.
Trailblazers can head for the Cavern of Corrosion, Path of Cavalier challenge to obtain them.
Actually, hold on.
And let's not forget the new path
Anyone
of
that
Erudition
has
trace materials
Boot Hill,
that'll be
anyone
added to the
that
brand new
has,
calyxes, rough
that
sketch,
is a plant
dynamic
owner,
outlining,
anyone
and
that
exquisite
has
colored drawing.
adventuring,
For Trailblazers who
Um,
wish to level up traces for me.
anyone that has
These
Firefly,
materials are
every
indispensable.
legally obligated to pull for
So many updates.
for
Man,
Argenti.
I can't
Legally.
wait for this version to
Pull
drop.
for him. Pull for him. Okay?
And
Look,
we're
you
at the
can't
end of
say
the
no to
version
him.
2.3
You just can't say
special
no. Do
program.
not say no to
It's
him.
about time
You
we
have to
bid
do it.
farewell to
You
this
have
white
to.
knight. Thanks again for everyone's support and viewership.
I eagerly await the version 2.3 story. Here's hoping the Pentacony discussions make for smooth sailing. Please, Trailblazers, do support the work of the IPC.
I'm looking
support
forward to
the
the
work of
brand
the
new
IPC.
Divergent universe, not to mention all those brilliant events. Don't forget to try them out.
In that case, see you in the next stream, Trailblazers. I'll be waiting for you at the usual spot.
Bye.
At the usual spot. Is it over? Wait.
What the heck is written in this thing anyway? That's it. That's it. I've had it. What am I? A god joke to them? Getting me to read out virgin names they're too afraid to read out for themselves. And not to mention the bullying. All these years working my tail feathers off for the RPC, and even the audience thinks I'm an intern. And now they're using my salary to fund the stellar Jade's budget for the new events. The audacity! You two, get out here.
Xiaoji and Tika. Wait, what?
Tell that to Sunday. Now listen up. The 3 years are up. I quit. If you didn't know already, I got an offer from the Cienjo to host the war dance. Albert's about to become a big-time sports anchor. You can get down on your knees and beg for all I care. It won't make any difference. What?
What is going on?
You... Huh?
Roll the tape.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most important event in the Cienjo calendar, the War Dance. The opening session is right around the corner. Here, you will witness members from all Cienjo delegations vying for supremacy in the Luminary Combat Arts Ceremony. First up, put your hands together for the Cienjo Yaoqing delegation. Fierce and swift is Fei Xiao, the Merlin's Claw. And by her side, he doesn't drink plain soup and has no time for coriander. It's a celebrated medicinal chef, Jiao Chou. What the heck did I just read?
Oh, okay, Jiao Chou.
He's cold and silent as a hunting shadow. The crow-feathered weirdo.
The crow-feathered weirdo? Who are these people?
And following close behind him is the Xianzhou Juming delegation. Strong and righteous is Huayan.
This is messed up. This is messed up.
Strikes while the iron is hot and forages while the flames are bright. It's one of the Flame Will Octet, Yunli. These are some wordy intros. And finally, the official host delegation has arrived. Let's hear it for the Xianzhou Lao Fu. Please welcome, having suddenly returned home for the victory lap, is the new Alchemy Commission Cauldron Master, Ling Sha.
This is
As
so...
an exceptionally gifted and legendary new sword master.
This is
who shall
so...
remain anonymous
This is
for the
so
time
terrifying. This is so terrifying.
gig.
No. I'm going back to bed. Stay tuned for the upcoming Summer Game Fest at... Okay. Are they gonna show us more tonight?